Once upon a mundane morning, Barb's day got busy without warning. A realtor in need of an open house sign. No, 50 of them, and designed before 9.
My head hurts.
Any mighty tools to help with this plight?
Aha!
Barb made her move. She opened Canva and got in the groove.
Bulk creating Canva sheets. Create 50 signs fit for suburban streets.
Done in a click, all complete.
Sweet!
Now, imagine what your dreams can become when you put imagination to work at canva.com.
Good evening and welcome to the Ospreylia. We start by looking back at the Argentina game. We talk about the importance of the community game for every Jack Morgan, every Debbie Lake, every Dan Edwards. That's the bedrock of a community, and that's where, of course, they started playing. And finally, we finish off by looking forward to the visit of Eddie Jones' Japan to Cardiff on Saturday. Okay, let's get going. Yeah. Hello and welcome, Grant and Jack, able to join me as the guest hosts this evening. Apologies from our regular presenters on the Ospreylia, Jack and Zach, who couldn't make it. And we'll start with some good news that we're very pleased to have a special guest joining us tonight. And if you're watching on YouTube or your Spotify, you'll notice that the famous former child star and TV actor, Mr. Dafydd Francis, has joined us. Dafydd gave up the opportunity of fame and fortune in Hollywood to stay in the equally glamorous Dowlais Valley and contribute to the bedrock of the local community there, Seven Sisters Rugby Club. We'll hear more about that later in the pod. So just today, nos ddiweddar croeso, Dafydd. Thank you for joining us.
Diolch yn fawr, thank you. Lovely to join you and looking forward to an enjoyable hour.
Great. And obviously, you can tell us later on about your own rugby journey and how you came to be involved and a fan of the Ospreys. Okay, I suppose we can't avoid any longer. We will need to start off by talking about Sunday's game. And probably if you'd have spoken to any of us involved in the Ospreys area and asked what's possibly the worst scenario that could come out of the game, we might have come up with something like, well, Wales lose by over 50 points, and either Jack, Dewi, or Dan to pick up a nasty injury. Unfortunately, we all know what happened thereafter. So let's start with Jack's injury. Pretty devastated, boys, about that?
100%, yeah. You know, we said in the last pod, was it, you know, we got some other players who look really good in the back row, and when Jack comes on, he's world class, and to see him out is really disappointing for Jack, isn't it? You know, we're looking at, what was it, potentially 12 weeks he's out for. That's really bad time, and he's got autumn internationals in front of him, Europe in front of him for the Ospreys as well, and it's really sad seeing him after a while, from what looked like an innocuous little knock at the time, didn't it, when he went to score.
Yeah, and I think I know they don't like to speculate on injuries and the true kind of extent of it, but he obviously would have had, hopefully, been put in for a scan soon, if not already had it. But it didn't look as if it as soon as it was done. I mean, the shirts are quite tight, and you could see the shape of the shoulder. There was a little point sticking out, and he's not one to show pain and to show weakness. And I think straight away you could see that he was bad. And then the way they held his shoulder or arm and walking off, that's kind of like, you knew that, okay, it's dislocated. Like, you know, it's not a stinger, you know. And I suppose I think it looked as if it was out on the field as well. It wasn't as if it went out and came back in. But 12 weeks is when is if there's not too much ligament damage as well, you know. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was something that we probably say, look, we'll probably see him in the summer, some internationals or something. But you know, like Steve Tandy said, it is obviously heartbreaking for Jack, and you could see he was disappointed, but it is an opportunity for others. And as brilliant as Jack is, because he's world class. You know, Harry Deeves will step up now, and he'll get an opportunity. And I think people are going to be surprised how good he is on the international scene. And also, I think it'll open the door for Morgan Morse. And Morsey's been waiting for his opportunity. I know he's been training with the Welsh team for a couple of years now, but I said to someone today, I said, don't be surprised that when Morgan Morse hits his straps at international level, it might take him a few games, but once he hits his straps, you're going to see another one off the conveyor belt from the Ospreys.
Yeah, definitely. And Josh, what do you think that Deavesy will be able to contribute in the sevens year? Because I think people assume that perhaps who aren't Osprey fans or watch regularly URC that the next cab off the rank might be Tommy Reffell. So what do you think he offers?
Yeah, I think with a player like Jack, he's almost impossible to replace because of his carrying, but his defensive effort as well. He's usually towards the top for tackles. He's usually towards the top for carries and meters gained. So you almost can't replace a player like that. But what you can do is try and make up for it in the aggregate. So Morse, if he's brought in a player like Morse, obviously his carrying, then that will help in that area. And then bringing in a player like Deaves, I think he's fourth in the URC so far this season for tackles. So his work rate is just phenomenal. And if you think he didn't play the last couple of URC games because he was injured, it just shows the work rate he's got. And yeah, I agree with Daf in terms of I think people will be surprised at just how good he'll look in an international jersey. I think he'll take it in his stride. I think he'll add so much energy. Carrying, tackling, all sides of the ball. I just really hope he gets an opportunity. Hopefully this weekend against Japan. I'm not sure how they'll go selection-wise. But, yeah, I think we need an out-and-out seven. And, yeah, hopefully, just fingers crossed he gets his chance.
Great.
Yeah, I think Deavesy get his chance, I think, because, and this is, I think, part of Tandy's thinking of bringing Deavesy in is that he's going to be available for the last game as well.
Yeah.
And Tandy said before, or when he announced the squad, he was saying about bringing people in from outside for the South Africa game. He probably had someone like Deavesy in mind anyway for that South Africa game. Now, obviously, back row is a lot of attrition. There's a hell of a lot of bumps going, and Plumtree was banged up last week apparently. Wainwright has been banged up today. On Sunday. Obviously we've lost Jack. So immediately, even coming out of the first game, you've got 3 injuries. Obviously, we know now that Wainwright's okay. But I had one eye on Moriarty. I was hoping that he'd get pulled in, particularly for the South Africa game, because you're going to need that confrontation against them. And who knows, that might happen. But I think the thinking behind Deavesy was we get him in. He may be in contention for the Japan game. Who knows? Depending on injuries, how Wainwright will respond. Obviously, I think you've got that. We're going to chat about the South Africa, the Japan selection later. But part of the reason why Deavesy is going to be involved was brought in instead of someone like Reffell is that that last game, he's an extra player,
Yeah. Okay, moving on to the actual game, and I'm sorry about the negative introduction. Obviously, we're delighted that we've got a former Osprey in Steve Tandy as the new head coach. Do you think he can take any positives out of the game? We start maybe talking about the pack performance. What about that? How do you think that went, Josh?
If I'm honest, I probably wasn't as positive as other people were coming out of the game.
Okay.
I just think going into it, even if you look at the rack predictions, most of you had us within 10, and it was a lot more one-sided than that. I think a lot of the positives people taking out of it are, we scored 4 tries, we scored 28 points. But to me, it kind of feels like Argentina were quite soft and let us in almost for a few tries because they were so far ahead, rather than us looking overly creative or dangerous. In terms of the pack, I thought a few lads maybe a little bit disappointing. Obviously, Alex Mann slipped off 4 tackles, which isn't great for a 6. I know he made 16, so that's 80% tackle completion rate, which again I don't think that's international standard. And I think across the board, Wales have a number of players for me who aren't up to this level. And I'm not saying that there's other players who are up to the level to come in. That's the biggest concern for me. I can't necessarily think of obvious replacements. But yeah, they're not able to deliver consistently enough. You asked positives, so positives would be Azarati massively surprised me. I thought he was really good in the loose, 3 really strong carries. He looked rock solid at scrum time, which was a concern of mine. So that's a huge positive. Lake got through a hell of a lot of work. He was towards the top in terms of stats, in terms of carrying and tackling. So he's like having another back row on the field, and I think it's almost a benefit he wasn't on the Lions tour, because it kind of meant he refreshed and he's sort of flown into this season. For me, he's been brilliant for Ospreys, and he carried that into the Wales game. For me, Carey's more of an impact sub, so I potentially look to switch those. I know we'll go on selection later, but I thought he didn't really offer that much around the park for the period he was on, and didn't really offer what we were looking for. And obviously our standout forward is now not going to be available. So yeah, sorry, that's all more negative.
No, that's fine. It's fine.
Just realistic, unfortunately.
Yeah,
right. I'm gonna interject a bit of positivity here now. Okay?
Well done, Dav.
Our starting point, okay, from before Saturday was so low, and I think we were enthusiastic because it was Steve Tandy and it was a new look. We had a few players back, Jack Morgan coming back, Beard, Dav Jenkins, people coming back into the squad. And we were guilty of being maybe over enthusiastic and maybe a little bit naive in our approach to the game on Sunday. But I think there's still a hell of a lot of gains from Saturday. Admittedly, nobody wants to lose by 50 points, but it tells a story, it tells a tale. I think our ruck speed, I looked into our ruck speed on Sunday, and 62% of our rucks were under 3 seconds. That is comparable to all the other teams who played on the weekend as well. New Zealand and Scotland, Australia were better. Strangely enough, Australia were faster, the fastest ruck speed over the weekend, and they lost, similarly to us in a sense. But I mean, I tell you what, you could do a podcast on the Australia-Italy game on its own, because the stats in that game were absolutely ludicrous. For example, like Australia had the lion's share of possession. They had something like 60. There we are. They had 59%. 59% possession, and Italy won the game with 41%. So Italy were really cool at playing without the ball, and in a sense, we had similar stats. But the one thing that missing was our ability to hold on to the ball and retain the ball at certain key areas, But our ruck speed was really good, up there with everyone. So the way we're carrying as well, we haven't got massive ball carriers, but we were carrying through the gaps. We had 6 entries into 22, and we came away with 4.6 points per entry, which was higher than anyone else. Now, that's not good enough if you're only getting in there six times. For example, I think Argentina got into our 22, I think 14 times. So they had a poorer average, if you like, but they were scoring tries from far out, Yeah. But what was really good was the way that we attacked off 9 in those little short dents, bit of caveman stuff. We looked really good, and Dewi Lake was good at it. Obviously, Jack Morgan was really good at it as well. But there seems to be, and that is a very Ospreys type way of attacking. But what we did slightly differently on Sunday, whereas the Ospreys, what we like to do is in the 22, we come around the corner, we're around the corner again, and we just keep going around and round and folding. Whereas Wales were going a little bit zigzag left and right, which did work. But I think we can see more of that. And if you do that against Argentina, you can do it against most teams. So as long as we keep our big ball carriers fit, the big men like Wainwright and Lake and Griffin, Carey, those are the boys who are gonna make real dents close to the line. So I think that was a real positive as far as the forwards are concerned. I think we were worried about the scrum going into Saturday, and Azarati has given us a big lift. We now know we can start with the tight dead. We've got to find another one now. Our line out, we lost 2 out of 10. One went through the hands of Alex Mann. The other one was overthrown. But little bits and pieces like that. And those are big parts of the game. Now, obviously, Tandy's had a fortnight with them, and it looks as if a lot of what they've been trying to do just didn't hit the mark. Our kicking game just wasn't accurate enough, and we weren't confident either. I don't know if you want to talk about the kicking game now or later, or...
Yeah, we'll come back to that if we may. The only thing I want to add is I thought Beard was very, and Dav Jenkins, in fairness, they're not the greatest ball carriers either, but what they give you is a lot of industry, and then certainly in Beard's case, I thought he was excellent both without the ball and with the ball on the line out, and calling the line out,
Yeah.
and the one mistake which was made, from what I think I said last night, it didn't look as if the actual lift was wrong or the timing was wrong. It just went through, as you said, a man's hands. But
Well,
so, yeah, so that was promising because, as we all know, if you haven't got the scrum and the line out efficient 80 plus, at least 80 plus, you're struggling in any game, whether that's playing for Seven Sisters or Mumbles.
well, the Japan game, if you remember, we couldn't win a line out. In the first game, we couldn't win a line out. Ben Carter goes off with concussion in the first minute, and we just couldn't win lineouts. We were getting penalties in the middle third. We were exerting pressure by kicking to the corner, and we'd lose a lineout. And the first game was done. Okay, everyone remembers the heat, but we just couldn't win any lineouts in that first test again in Japan. And people like Dav Jenkins and Adam Beard, they know their way around a lineout. They called it well, and it solved. It solves everything when you've got your key men on the field. So I think lineout was decent. Scrum surprisingly good, although it did fall apart a little bit when Azarati went off, although Nicky got one penalty for us. Two of the penalties we conceded were from scrums in the last few minutes, Yeah.
Okay, we'll go on. That's great. So let's go on to our attacking intention. Did we start to see, if you like, any updates from what we saw from the Japanese tour around the way we attacked? Grant, you'd like to kick us off?
It's almost starting again if you compare it to the Japanese performances, because we were a bag of nerves, weren't we? And we looked at more confident putting ball through hand. I don't think we were executing it particularly well around the centre partnership at points. The passes looked crisp, but there was not much sympathy in them, and there was not much space being made with them. If you start a bit further infield, like Thomas Williams showed his class. I thought he looked a step above the rest of the backs, and I thought Dan Edwards had a pretty solid game as well. And it's been probably a shock for most people when he makes that break and disappears up the pitch. Okay, don't think you see many tens able to burn people away like that. And hell of a fingertip or fingernail tap tackle took him down with him. So I thought the halfbacks went well. Centre partnership, I still don't see those two setting the world alight at all and staying there for the rest of the season, let alone any sort of medium term. I think Max Llewellyn started coming into the game. He's a fairly direct carrier, and defensively, you could see him playing a role similar to Owen Watkins in terms of organising what's going on. He's really solid in defence, but him and Ben Thomas don't work. And we did say we thought if Sherrod wants a Ben Thomas type player, would he go for Hawkins rather than Ben Thomas? And I think after what we saw on the weekend, especially Ben Thomas might miss the game anyway if there's any fall-up, and when he swung his leg out, then I can't see Ben Thomas playing much for the rest of the autumn. Outside of that, I felt, I don't know what was going on full-back in terms of our ability to deal with the aerial ball. I can't understand how we were so bad. It's not even we were dropping balls. Sometimes Murray couldn't get near the ball with him. Don't know if that's just his size was exposed now, and people have suddenly got a game plan about to deal with the Wales back three. But I thought we really struggled in the back three under the high ball. Whether we were trying to compete or we were trying to defend, I thought we really struggled around there.
What do you mean? Okay, I'll go on to the kicking game then. Dav, do you want to add anything else on the kicking game?
Yeah, I mean, I get it when the criticism of Blair Murray is that he's short, and there's no hiding from that. However, South Africa have got Arendse and Colby, Scotland have got Darcy Graham, Ireland have got James Lowe, England have got Marcus Smith. The list is endless. I mean, New Zealand have been playing the boy Mackenzie in the back three as well. Australia have got small men. Boy Wright is not massive. So you know, other teams cope with it and they find a way. And whether it's, I mean, we had Halfpenny, who was a phenomenal player under the ball, and he would attack it with conviction. You know, he was an artist when it came to that, you know, and he was brave and he was confident. And I think that's part of the problem as well, is that we were very hesitant in attacking the ball. And I think our selection as well, we were under the ball as well, and we were trying to flap it down. We didn't win any of the 50-50s. So, and okay, Patchell said that's the bounce of the ball. And okay, maybe it is a little bit of a bounce of the ball, but you've got to be there as well. And you've got to donut that area. You've got to pick up the crumbs. So were we getting enough bodies around the ball? Were we getting enough bodies around Blair Murray? Because you can be cute and you can, you know, stand and be awkward and pretend that you don't know the rules, but there are ways of doing it, and we are inexperienced, we are naive, we are green. And if you look at the back three and the centres, we haven't got many caps. Okay, what's his name? Jadzi, Josh Adams is experienced, had a solid-ish game. But there was I think there was hesitancy, there was a lack of confidence, lack of experience as well, and that's going to come. As well, I don't think our kicking game was particularly accurate. We were either undercooking the kick or we were pushing it too far. So we weren't really getting a lot of chances to really compete. But, you know, like I said, you know, I think you've got to remain positive, and I think a lot of it, these little bits and pieces can be sorted.
Yeah.
You know, the kicking game is something that comes with organisation, time on the paddock, and, you know, we've solved a lot of problems, but there needs to be a way of navigating throughout the camp now to choose what wins we're going to have next. Go back to Ben Thomas. We ran the play when Dan Edwards came through the middle. Okay. He was the pivot with the ball out the back again. And you could see it. I think it was the game had been, the run had been played 2 or 3 times. And you could see the Argentinians going, oh, go on, do it again. I dare you, do it again. And people have compared it to the Argentina quarterfinal one. You don't even have to go back that far. Just go to the first half and Dan's break. And it was like, go on, we'll gamble now. And I think if Ben Thomas had held onto the ball, he'd have run 50 metres up the field, because they all just went for the pass. Yeah. And that comes with experience. And if you had an Owen Watkin in the middle there, or if you had a Nick Thompson's in the middle there, they'd probably say, right, boys, we've run this play 3 or 4 times now. It's worked. Don't do it again. There needs to be a subtlety here now. And they're going to go for it. We either chip over the top or hold on to it or truck it up and see what happens, you know. But that kind of blind pass of that wrap around the Sexton run, you know, it was almost as if they were sitting in the stand going, get a message on, they're going to do it again. Particularly after Dan Edwards went through. It's like, you know, and that's where I think the exuberance of youth, you know, costs you, where you need that kind of solid guy in midfield. And who knows, they might go for Tompkins to be the man in the middle, to go put a foot on the ball and say, boys, all right, we you know, we've had these line breaks now, but this is the time to drill it down, you know, and play the corners.
Okay. Just going on to, you know, if you like, Steve Tandy's trademark, he got his international sort of experience as a defence coach. You know, how, I know it's perhaps a difficult one when we've conceded so many tries. Some of them, in my view, were very soft tries, but there were some system errors. Did you see any plan emerging about how we're going to defend? Anybody?
I think the defence was the biggest kind of disappointment, really. I know the kicking game was a complete loss, and they'll see that and they'll know that, obviously. But I think we probably wanted more from our defence stats. We missed 30 tackles, which is a high number. I mean, compared, again, I had a little look over the weekend through Ruck, I think it was, the website. Scotland missed 22 against New Zealand. New Zealand missed 18 against Ireland, 10 against Scotland. Australia missed 21 against England, 18 on the weekend against Italy. Italy missed 17. England missed 18 against Australia, which is quite high for a one-sided win. But then they missed 15 against Fiji. Admittedly, you're gonna miss tackles against Fiji. but then Ireland missed 24 on a weekend. And then, surprisingly, Fiji missed 20 tackles against England. And we missed 30.
Yeah.
And as a proportion of the tackles made, it was 87%, which is not too bad. You know, if you're high 80s in a test match, that's fine. But when you surrender possession in large chunks, you know, 87% of a bigger number is going to be 30. So
yes, it's 30 opportunities, isn't it, Daf?
30 opportunities. It's 30 chances of you not nailing the first guy. So, you know, the defense will be a concern. I think the tackle tech is going to be addressed, but it also, you know, I think other stats kind of like lead you to that scoreline as well, in that we missed 30 tackles, but possession-wise, overall, we had 47%, which, okay, is a share, okay? But the last 10 minutes, we only had 31% possession. So there was a drop-off. So we fell away. We didn't get the energy probably from the bench to kind of like, but then we're chasing the game, you know, and we go from, I've got it written down somewhere, but I think it's something like we was 14 all after 31 minutes. And then after 44 minutes, it's 38-14. Sorry, so 14 all after 31 minutes. And the yellow card comes, I think, 26 minutes. So we battled a little bit. And then from 31, I think they scored a penalty. I think it might have been all maybe the try. From 31 to 44, it goes from 14 all, or 14 points against us, to 38. And the game is done then. So we've got a yellow card in between that half. We've got a very poor way of finishing the first half and a very poor way of starting the second half. And that chunk in the middle tells you why it's 50 points. Look, Argentina were a better side. They had 400 caps more than us. They're going to be a better side. They've come through. They've been playing in the Rugby Championship. You know, they're primed, and we're playing a primed Argentina side, who's a really good side. And we're surrendering possession, kicking inaccurately. You know, and they look, you can't hide that the last 10 minutes having 31% is poor. And I think surrendering possession and then conceding 30 tackles is going to cost you. But of course, this Argentina side, if you look at the kicking game, we didn't play well. We didn't kick well. But Argentina beat New Zealand in the summer with the kicking game.
Yeah.
And it was when they beat them in Buenos Aires, I think it was Buenos Aires, they beat them for the first time at home in the Rugby Championship. They absolutely destroyed them in the kicking game. And South Africa destroyed New Zealand in the kicking game as well. So it does happen to teams. And unfortunately, we had a defense that didn't fire as much as it should have. And maybe, you know, you can sort of set piece out with personnel, and you can sort of set piece out with a few changes and 2 weeks. But to sort of defense out, you know, you need personnel, time. It's a new system. You've got to trust each other. You know, and I think that's probably going to be the biggest focus really for Steve now for the last 3 games.
I completely agree. I think the nature of some of the missed tackles is probably a bit of a concern as well. Tom Rogers fell off, I think, 4 tackles, and I think he really struggled to deal with Carreras, if I'm honest. And yeah, when you're missing tackles out wide, obviously you don't have the cover around you. So if you slip off a tackle in midfield, you're likely to have a couple of forwards either side of you will cover you. If you're missing a tackle out wide on someone like Carreras, he's gone, and they'll have 2 players in support, and they'll be finishing off those opportunities. And obviously, you don't want to call out players individually, but you know, I think it was one of the tries Priscantelli scored, and I think, you know, Rogers missed him, and you could just see him looking up at the camera and was saying, like, "I'm literally giving everything, but it's just not enough." And I just think, yeah, some of the players in that defensive system aren't making one-on-one tackles, and no matter how well Tandy may coach them in the system, if you're missing one-on-one tackles, you're not going to be able to compete at international level or any sort of professional level, if I'm honest. So yeah, potentially Reece Samet might come in on that wing. It might be a bit more solid defensively, but yeah, I think missing up one-on-one tackles is kind of inexcusable at that level.
In fairness to Tom Rogers, he played really well last Six Nations in a team that was struggling, and his kind of very similar to the way that Rio Dyer played the year before. his kick chase was really good. His endeavour was good. He didn't waste any shots. He fired a shot, and usually it was one shot, one kill with him, and he would make tackles. And in fairness, he had a hand in the try as well. You do feel sorry for him. I think he overchased for the kick, and then also that kick before the restart before half time, he might have overchased, but he also had a tired Lucid on his left who played 38 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
And he had Dewi Lake on his right. And Dewi'd been doing a hell of a lot of work. And you probably need to line up and set up that kick chase, because Dan went longish with a winger chasing. Probably needed someone like Jack Morgan or Wainwright or Alex Mann on his shoulder outside him. And okay, maybe carry there on the inside, but you can't have two kind of like front five or props, front row players who've given 38 minutes, absolutely, everything, just conceded a try, and then you can't ask them to chase 40 meters, So I think that was a bit of a systems thing. They'll probably flag that up and say, right, next time, just line up with someone and check. And again, this comes down to experience. And, Argentina made mistakes on Saturday. We didn't really capitalize on them, but they got 410 caps more than us. So this is something that we're gonna have to endure a lot of errors and a lot of mistakes, because these boys are young, and he's got our job now to find the balance between, we need to start winning, and particularly the next two games we've got to put up two good performances because the rankings are involved, but also the patience to say, this time next year I want boys on 30 caps, not 10, or 30 caps, not 20, or 15, not 5. So that's why he's paid the top bucks, to make sure that he's going to make these calls and, not chop and change all the time.
Yeah, I think it's difficult to get that balance, isn't it, between giving boys enough caps, but making sure you're putting the caps in the right players, because you don't want to be 10, 15 caps down the line and you're still like, well, this guy's still not up to it.
Yeah.
I need to give someone else the opportunity. And I think there's certain boys in that Wales team who I think have had enough opportunities now, and I'd potentially like to see other players in there given a chance.
Well, we'll come back to selection for the next game and thereafter. So I think we've done that game and given it a good, thorough analysis. So we'll perhaps go on to the community results, Grant, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, okay. Tell me when you can see the screen, just for the benefit of anyone watching on YouTube.
Yeah, we can see it. It's all up there.
Okay, right, I'm looking at the right screen. Okay. Okay, starting off Super Rugby Cymru, not a great weekend for the Ospreys region. Aberafan 19, Carmarthen Quince 28, Bridgend 26, RGC 54, and that leaves RGC at the bottom of Super Rugby Cymru, with RGC climbing over. Do you come down for that, Nick?
No, I didn't. But I've got to say that's a decent result for them.
Oh God, yeah. Okay. Moving on, Premiership. Crosskeys 25, Neath 47. Neath still hanging on to 4th place, I think, in the league. Championship East, Treorchy 22, Bridgend Athletic 18. Championship West, Trebarnos 19, Dunvan 14. Gowerton 17, Ammanford 10. Gleneath 29, Aberystwyth 32. Tartersteel 33, Kenfigel 23. And to finish off Championship West, Tondy 20, Bonamine 12.
Do you want any comments on those games at all?
Anything? Yeah, you want to add? Any surprises there?
Well, I mean, Trebarnos are a really young side. They've lost a lot of players over the last few years, so they're kind of rebuilding. So that's a really good result for them. Gowerton, my one of my best mates. Well, I got a lot of mates at the moment. I'm going to be dropping them names in. But Ben Thomas, scrum half for Gowerton, really good boy. He was in the Ospreys under 18s and the junior academy with my boy. Gleneath, that's a tough result at home for Gleneath, but a great result for Aberystwyth. Gleneath have lost a hell of a lot of players up front, and but the good thing about Gleneath is they've got a really good youth section and a very good mini section underneath. They've had a seconds team up until last season. So Gleneath are a great club. They all local boys. They've got one or two old boys like James Parry, the captain, Johnny Griffin, the second row, Varden and the prop. But mainly the very, very young side. We played them in a pre-season so-called friendly, which was interesting, in August. And I actually had 5 minutes on that one. So I came off the bench and I had 5 minutes. And James Parry is the captain of Glynneath. He's open side. He's a good friend of mine. So I had to get on the field just for one little...
Did you nail him? Did you nail him at least once?
I tried. I chased my best. And my mate in work, actually, Guy Cambon was reffing, and he pinged me in the first ruck. Absolute travesty. He was one of the best rucks I've ever hit. Tata Steel, good win for them. Tata Steel have always... So Steph Andrews, the ex-Ospreys and Aberafon, he's coaching them. Ian Moore as well, Carmarthen boy, he's coaching there. Doing a really good job. And my mate who plays for Swansea, because the Premiership had a week off, Swansea had a weekend off. So my mate Kev, his son Ellis Lewis, who's in the under-20s setup, went to the World Cup last year. Scrum half, he played for Tata Steel against Kenfigill. And my ex-7 player coaching Kenfigill at the moment, Rhys Jones, winger, good player, used to play for Swansea, Wales Sevens. Good tough game there, but a good win for Tata Steel.
Excellent.
Just that. Moving on to League One West, Bailey Hall 15, Wyn Alwyth 12, and Swansea Uplands 43, Lampeter Town 7. So a big win for the Uplands for that. In West Central, my state Quins 20, Haler Cave 41. Good away win for Haler Cave there. Aberafon Green Stars 10, Vardra 22. Abercrave 7, Ystradgynlais 13 in a local derby-ish.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one, which is local to them, who they played last week, Ystadlefera 22, Skewin 18, another close game there. And to finish off West Central, Nantafylchon 13, Birth Wells 10. So
are you? Which league are you in, Dav? Seven Sisters.
We're in 3, we are.
Yeah, you can have your moment of glory now.
Okay, let's go on to the down.
Ystradgynlais have gone top of the league there, overtaking Abercrave.
Great win for them in Abercrave, because although they've gone top, Abercrave really, really fancy their chances. They're great, two brilliant clubs, mind. I got to be honest. Both clubs have put a hell of a lot of time into developing younger teams. My son used to play for Abercrave Youth a few years ago. Really talented group of boys. So Abercrave would have been disappointed with that. But it was a massive game, apparently. Hundreds and thousands were there. Great day for the club, but Ystradgynlais came away with the spoils there. I would have had Abercrave down to win that one, but for home advantage. But obviously the return fixture is going to be absolutely crazy.
That'll be a good game.
Yeah. League 2 West, Loughor 37, Carmarthen Athletic 46, and Betws 0, Penclough 38. You don't see many nils, do you? But
No.
Betws had a bit of a paste in there. League 2 West Central, Neath Athletic 26, Bryn 19. Reasonable game. I've heard from a few people who are down there. Morriston 10, Porthcawl 19. Mumbles 22, Bryn Aman 24. Pencoed 32, South Gower 26, or Pencoed for anyone who lives there. Quins Birchgrove postponed. Any feedback on the set, Dav?
Sorry?
Any feedback on this league, yeah?
No, just looking at, I keep an eye on the two. I got lots of friends around the place. Morriston is coached by Paul Thomas. Joe Thomas, the centre for the Ospreys and Dragons, and lovely bloke, great family, lovely family. Paul's doing a great job there. Funnily enough, his brother Steve coaches Vardra. They're doing slightly better. I think last year they were derbies between those two. Mumbles and Bryn Aman both have slipped a little bit. Both two big clubs. South Gower doing really well at the moment, but obviously good win for Pencoed. And Gavin Hunson's been for Pencoed, didn't he?
Yeah.
Well, he's come back to play with his mates. I know a lot of boys at my son's age play for Neath Athletic, and Pencoed. He spent loads of time talking and chatting and mixing afterwards, and he seems really, really happy where he is and playing. Funnily enough, my son was in a gentleman's evening to commemorate the Grand Slam, and Shane Williams, Martin Williams, Shanklin, and Gavin Henson were there, and they had a picture with him, and he was chatting with the boys, and he said, "Oh, I've got a game tomorrow, Neath Athletic. Do you know anything about them?" And he wanted to know what the players were like, so he was kind of like preparing and a little bit nervous in a sense, like.
Oh, lovely.
And he was kind of like, oh yeah, right, okay. What kind of players should I look out for and all this, like. And the boys were like, this is Gavin Henson, you know. So, but he came across really, really well with the boys, and he's enjoying it. And it's great for local rugby, you know, that players are going back to clubs, putting something into it, and also, you know, kind of what appears to be is that all his mates are coming back to play as well. So it's that kind of like second youth, if you like, you know, that they're enjoying, like.
Just talking about going back to places. I lived in West Cross and was down in Swansea, and obviously near Mumbles. But I know the club, sort of sports club, that they redeveloped the ground area there, didn't they? And they went bankrupt, I think, the company. But the council stepped in. I think it's reopened now because obviously you got the football, you got the rugby, you got the cricket in the summer. So that's good for, you know, the community as well.
Mm.
Moving on, League 3 West Central, Baglan 29, Resolving 14, Rick Goss 33, Carmarthen 29. Couldn't cope with the altitude up there. Nantymoel 18, Tormal 12, Tandy's old club there. And the big result, Seven Sisters 28, My State Celtic 26. And finish off that league, Tornet 25, Brinkhoch, my own club 6. I'll finish this off, Davin. You can come back in. We won a little bit on that second game. Right. League 4 West Central, Pontardawe 29, Ken Kruger 32. Bridgend Sports 29, Crinant 23. Big high scoring game here. Penland 3, Maesteg 6. Cwmgors ended 16 all. Gleis 9, Bonham 9 Athletic 43. Concludes the League 3 and 4 results. How was the 7 game, Dav?
Oh, I tell you what, we didn't play well at all, honestly. And in fairness, Meister Celtic, they brought loads of subs. They brought loads of supporters. They were a great bunch of boys. They stayed afterwards as well. We had a good sit down with them. And there's a couple of Meister boys who used to play with us in the 90s, and they came to watch. We had a bit of a reunion as well, which was nice. But I'll be honest, we won with a conversion from the death, at the death from the touchline. And we went through about, I don't know, must have felt like 20 phases to get there. And the clock was done. We scored in the corner. Our number 8 scored 4 tries that day. And our outside half, Anthony Llewellyn. So I'll name drop now. So Connor Thomas scored 4. Anthony Llewellyn, our outside half, kicked all 4. 3 of them from touchline, and 1 was like 15 meters in. Like, so in fairness, he had gold dust on his boots. And Meister Celtic, exactly. You know, they definitely deserve to win the game, like. But we just dug in, and we playing at home is always difficult to come to 7, and we somehow found a way. But they to be honest, they were the better side, and we've said that. It's a great league, mind. It's a brilliant league. Everyone seems to be beating everyone. You know, the teams appear to be down the bottom are tough teams that, like Meister Celtic, were down the bottom. They've beaten us. I think they beat Rick Goss as well. Rick Goss, sorry, they should have beaten us. They think they might have beat Pep Rick Goss. But like Carmarthen are doing, they're a young side. A lot of good youngsters, backs, really talented backs there. Rick Goss is a tough team to beat. But to be honest, every team we played Baglan away in the cup. Had a great welcome there. The Resolving boys are great. We all know each other. Every single team we've played against. Tonmau, we were there last week. We've had a real good welcome in everyone, and every time teams have come to us, they've stayed. We make an effort to stay for a good couple of hours afterwards and have a, you know, we've got a minibus in 7, so we make sure the boys can stay away as well, and we make sure the boys can get home safely. And it's a really good league to be in, because if you can see there, they're all kind of community clubs, village sides, valley sides, and we all get on really well. Like, it's a tough, hard league, but you know, every Saturday is very enjoyable. Like,
great.
I saw on your Facebook page that final kick, because they shared a video, and phenomenal strike, to be fair, right from the touchline.
yeah.
Made me a bit jealous, because our game on the weekend, our kicker kicked 1 out of 7, and we lost 33-32.
Oh,
So,
gosh.
Josh, can I just check? Okay, were you the kicker on the weekend?
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, it's partly my fault, because I am a 10 who doesn't kick because he got a dodgy back. So yeah, I didn't take any responsibility over kicking, but yeah, I saw that and I was like, if you could give our kicker a little bit of kicking practice, that'd be nice. But
What was
Love that, actually.
Was his name Sheedy?
Brad Harris, I'll call him out on here. Hopefully he doesn't listen. So
What's the club, Josh? What's the club?
Hucklecote, it's a local club in Gloucester.
All right.
But yeah, just looking at those results, to be fair, and it just looks really competitive. Like you look at the results in our league, and it's all sort of. I know our game was close, but it's a lot of 50 pointers or walkover kind of games.
Yeah.
But to see a lot of teams within a score or a couple of scores is yeah, it's massively positive, and it shows that the league structure is working well.
Okay.
Yeah, it's settling down a little bit because obviously we had COVID, and we were in Division 2, and we were an aging side a little bit, but we kind of stagnated, and COVID saved us from relegation. And then the year after was opened up to play league games, but no one got relegated. Again, we should have been relegated again. Anyway, that's a long story, but we had to bounce down to 5, and then we come back up to 3 now. And I think 3-2 is probably where a village like Seven Sisters should be, really. And competitive, and also to try and kind of like represent the village and the area, and give opportunities for kids in rugby.
I think there's a lot of people really happy with League 3 West Central this year, because there's a lot of clubs who are really close to each other, and
yeah, it's brilliant.
The local derbies, localish.
Yeah. I've been playing for years and years, and I played. I don't ever want to say that I can't play rugby ever again. It's ridiculous, mine, to think that I can. But like, you look back on what the club means to me and my family and everything, and everyone who's around us. It's and it's, the same can be said. You talk to anyone in Tormawr and Carmarthen, Rickos, Resolven, they're all the same. Brincoch, Torna, it's the middle of your community, and it's part of your upbringing, and families, kind of like congregate around it, and it's important to keep it going. And it's great then when you see Gavin Ensign going back to his club after everything he's achieved. We got Tavis Noyle, who's part of our club, and he's been playing for us the last couple of years, married a girl from Severn. And he's a Glynneath boy, but he's played for Severn. And, it's great that's what community rugby should be all about.
Yeah, agree with that. Okay, and the last set of results from weekend gone. Pontrhydyfen 14, Dunvant Athletic 39. Banwan 20, Pile 0. Again, can't go up with the altitude. Cumslingsveth 21, Cumdrach 43. Big score from Cumdrach there. And finish off League 5 West Central. Taibach 49, Glencorrwg 19. League 6 East Central. Just the one result, Kenfig Athletic 37, Rumney Athletic 17. So that's the end of the results from the weekend.
Okay, just one eye on the clock as well, but we'll just talk a little bit, Dav, if that's okay, about a little bit more about Seven Sisters, and perhaps how you got involved as a youngster, and your rugby journey, and how you've sort of alluded to a little bit, as in any club, a village club, you've gone through some good phases, but do you feel as a club you've got structures in place which will, keep the club sustainable?
I think the structures there, as far as the club is concerned, how the club is run, is very, very good. The difficulty and the challenges with the club is, with any rugby club really, is that you try to run it as a business, because you've got to pay your staff. If you've got bar staff, if you've got, we rely very heavily on volunteers in and around the club. You've got to keep the lights on. You've got to pay the bills. You've got to make sure the place is safe. So, you've also got to attract people in, to try and attract them in every night of the week. And we're lucky we train on a Tuesday and a Thursday, and there's an expectation for the boys to stay afterwards and have a little sit down, have a chat, kind of pop, pack the crisps or whatever, stick a telly on. And I've always said to my son, I said, you go down that club, and if you switch a telly on, you're costing it money. So you make sure you spend money even if you're buying a packet of crisps, bottle of pop or whatever. When he was younger, obviously now you can have a pint, but you go down that club, don't go down there and not spend any money. You've got to spend 5 or 10 every time you're there. Like, don't go charging your phone in the socket. Sitting there, you got to put something behind the bar, like. And the challenge for any community club is to make sure that you can pay the bills and keep the place open, keep rugby there. So in fairness, our chairman, Jeff Davis, he makes sure that there's like the bingo that is there in the week. You've got 2 nights of the week, you've got women's fitness called 7 Fit. You've got lots of other little bits and pieces in and around, like social events. Once a month there's always something going on. He runs a quiz every once a month in the season on a Saturday night. So there's an expectation as well. Bring your wives, your girlfriends, your boyfriends, whatever, and make sure you're there. We've got a women's rugby team as well. They're really good. Right. So they train twice a week. They play on the Sundays. They drink as much as anyone. So there's a strong social element. There's a strong community side of it as well. I think I said to you in the past as well, Nick, that the food bank runs out of the club as well. So there's a strong social element as well. We're in the middle of the community. We know who we are, and it's a challenge. But with that challenge, you can find solutions that are a lot of fun as well. Yeah. So you get people in there. Make it a social thing, make it a family environment, and that way then you can keep the place busy. You've got to make it worthwhile for the players as well, because we make sure that the players have got adequate insurance if they're self-employed. So if they have a bump, we make sure they're looked after. Like I said, we've got 2 minibuses, so we can make sure the boys can get to away games. We get volunteers to drive the bus. We have food on a Thursday night, so the kitchen staff, they make sure that there's food for the boys. There's washing machines and dryers in the club, so if the boys want to leave kit there, they can leave the kit there, and it gets looked after. So you're taking the edge off being a rugby player, coming home. You're asking players, invariably boys now in their 30s and 40s, and in my case, I'm in my 50s. But it's like you're asking people to come away from their families, make time away from work, and you've got to make it as easy as possible and as pleasurable as well for them. So, I mean, the club have got it right. We don't profess to be the only club that's got it right, but there's a lot of things that's wrong in the club as well. I'm not going to say what they are, but there's a hell of a lot of challenges. We're not in a densely populated area. We don't have a comprehensive school nearby, like some clubs are fortunate, like Morriston and Skewin and other clubs. They've got that kind of like critical mass, if you like. So we've got an aging squad, we've got an aging team. We've got an influx of youngsters in their early 20s coming through, about a dozen of them, which is good for bodies, but without second team rugby, there's a shortage of opportunities to give them a bit of scar tissue. So we're searching now. We've got a month off. We're searching for friendlies, so we're going to try and get friendlies. Of course, and if we can we haven't got lights in the club, but we've got to go to somewhere with lights. So we're looking for opposition, a bit of friendly fire to get these youngsters, give them some meaningful game time, and we know that, like we're saying, we're in Division 3 now. We're doing really well. We're third place with the game in hand. We win the game, we go top. So next year we could be in Division 2, but also we're going to be in Division 2 with either an aging team getting older or a younger team without the necessary experience. So we've got that balance to kind of get these boys now on the field after Christmas, get them up to speed, all the while keep winning. Or we think, well, let's get them on a field. We might not go up this year, but we'll go up the next year. Yeah. But if you go up, playing against Pencord, Neath Athletic, South Gower, good side.
Big jump in standard, is it?
And even the teams down the bottom, you've got Mumbles and I think it might be Burnhaman down the bottom. They're 2 good sides, really good sides. Mumbles, as an example, have always benefited from Swans University. So you've got networks, getting a few decent players from away who don't go home, come and join our club. So you've got all these little ways of around, because in the old day it used to be, let's mortgage a club, let's pay our money, you know.
Yeah.
And everyone tried that and it didn't work. No one cracked it. Not even the professional teams have got it right. So it's you've got to find ways around making rugby attractive. And it's harder now. I mean, rugby is hard. It's a tough sport. And you know, I mean, boys can struggle to walk on a Tuesday in training after a really hard game. You know, and no longer can you be a winger who can't tackle or ruck. You know, you've also got to be front five who can get around the field, you know, sprint and tackle. So it's a harder game now for community level. We've got professional standards at community kind of involvement, you know.
That's one good thing about age. I'm very glad I'm retired.
Sounds horrendous stuff.
It's much easier watching it, Grant.
Oh yeah, watching the game, yeah.
Okay, talk about moving forward then. Obviously, we've got another game on Saturday. We've got Japan on Saturday. Let's look ahead to perhaps how we're going to face the challenge in some ways of the Japanese and the fast game they try and play. So tactically, perhaps if anyone wants to kick off, how you think we should play it tactically, and then finish off then with any changes we think perhaps in personnel should be considered.
I think Tandy will stick with how he started in terms of tactics and just try and refine and just execute better. I don't see any major changes coming. He might shuffle a few people around, but you can't make wholesale changes, because you start doing that, and you know it's a new side. You can't make too many changes.
Josh, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, completely agree. I think, I think continuity is going to be important, especially in the some of the back positions, even though I'd like to see a couple of changes. I don't think Japan will offer the same aerial threat that Argentina did. So even though Murray might have struggled, I'd still go again with him. But yeah, I think we're going to need it. Ideally, we're going to need a 7. I don't know if, I'd have Deeds in the matchday squad. Whether he's going to start or not, because he hasn't trained last week, I think he's probably more likely turned up on the bench if he's going to be involved. And the other change I'd probably make is potentially moving Carey to the bench, probably starting Nicky Smith, and see if we can have a go at their scrum. I thought Carey looked solid, but I think Nicky Smith's a more attacking loose head who's going to have a go at their tight head, hopefully. They've got 2 massive second rows, so we're going to have to be solid at line out time. But as you've mentioned, to be fair, our line out looked really strong. So I don't think we'll make too many changes. I think it'll be same again.
Dav, anything you want to add?
I think so, yeah. I think he's going to go 5-3 split again. Later on, maybe go 6-2 against South Africa, but it'll be 5-3 split. Steve Tandy will not question his process or question what he's done. And we could all talk about if we'd have put someone else instead of Ben Thomas, if we'd have put someone else in the back 3. I don't think there would have been a massive difference in scoreline or how the game transpired. You know, Argentina destroyed New Zealand in the air over the summer, and they did a good job on us, and that had a big bearing on the possession, field territory, opportunities. So it went the way it should have gone, the game anyway. I think we were a little bit unlucky with some errors, and you know, particularly the try before halftime and Ben Thomas's try. I think you cancel those out, and you've got a reflection on where we are and how good they are. I think you go for Nicky Smith. Do you think Rhys Carey, probably the scrummaging effort, took away from his ability to get in those spaces? Because obviously,
that's a good point.
You know, he's very good for Saracens, but you know, test match scrummaging is a level up. I would definitely go with Nicky Smith, particularly as it's Japan as well. Front row as is, second rows as is. Interestingly enough, right at the end of the game, when Jack goes off and Ollie Cracknell comes on, Ollie Cracknell goes to 7. He went to 7 on the scrums straight away. And so Man is a 6 because he's line out. He gets in people's face. He tries to slow ruck down. He gets in places. He's quite clever. He's a very clever player. He should probably be penalised a lot more than he is, but he gets away with it. He knows when to try and kill a ball, when to roll away slowly, when to do this, and He's quite nuggety. He doesn't quite have the frame yet for what his body wants to do. But I think he's going to be persisted with, because I think he has the all-round game that Steve Tandy wants as a 6. Although he might be tempted to go for a bigger 6, maybe Freddie Thomas. I quite like the look of him as a 6, but I think he'd probably go with Alex Mann, Ollie Cracknell 7, with Wainwright recovered hopefully at 8, and Morgan Morse on the bench to make his get on the field. A quick aside, he's an Estelvera boy. He was in the under-20 setup with my son, schools rugby with my son. He comes from an absolutely beautiful family, and when he gets a cap, I'll be absolutely chuffed, over the moon. He's an absolute fantastic kid.
Yeah.
Very popular in the school because he was just an absolute diamond, you know. And yeah, he deserves it 100%. So yeah, and I think backline, I don't know. I'm not sure whether Ben Thomas keeps his place. I know Sherritt's a big fan of his. He does have all the tools. And I think the mistakes will be ironed out with experience anyway. Or does he go with Joe Hawkins, another one who's got all the skill? He's got everything Joe Hawkins has. He's got a kicking game. He's a big ball carrier. He'll hit hard in defence. He's quite cool under pressure. The only problem with Joe, I think, has he had enough rugby under his belt up until now at club level? And he's been bedding in with the Scarlets. They've been playing him at 10. I'd love to see him at 12, to be honest, give him a crack. I'd also like to see Louis Hennessy have a go. He went on the bench.
Yeah.
Another one, he was in the setup age grade with Morsey. And he's very highly thought of in Bath, and he's great. I thought Llewellyn did really well. I've got to be honest, guilty of maybe not thinking enough of him. I think when you're that big, and Louis Hennessy, when you've got a frame like that, and Mason Grady, you want to be bullying people. And I thought that Max Llewellyn really did well Saturday, and I thought he imposed himself physically at times when I haven't seen that in him in Gloucester, but maybe that's down to how Gloucester play. But he bangs hard, Max Llewellyn. I think played really well, and lucky on occasions with the pass didn't go to hand with him and Dan. I think he was away then on the left hand side. But I'd love to see Louis Hennessy there. I think Zammit comes in. I think whether he comes in at fullback or Blair Murray at fullback to keep him there, I think Zammit comes in, which is a shame. I liked Tommy Rogers last year when he was one of the ones who I think stood up for himself on the field for Wales last year. But you know, sometimes it comes down to confidence, and he might be the one that makes way. But one or two changes, but in the main, I think Steve Tandy will keep confidence in his own process. Really.
Yeah, I think it's a funny game, this one, isn't it? Because this is the game we should win. And also with the rankings as well, it's a very important game in that respect. So I think there's probably going to be more continuity in selection than maybe possibly is deserved, just because there's some combinations about a few games together. And maybe then the idea is change some of those combinations then against New Zealand, which is always an easy game.
Yeah.
Okay, with that, all I have to do now is ask you, gentlemen, for a prediction. So I'll start off with Mr. Burney. Are we going to win, Grant? And if we are, by how many?
A win by 12.
Oh.
I'm thinking lower than that. Every time I'm positive, it goes badly wrong. I'm positive with a win by just 12.
Josh?
Wales by 3.
I was going to say Wales by 12, so I'll say Wales by 13.
Excellent. And for what it's worth, I've got my reputation now because I'm actually in the head in the prediction league for the wrap, aren't I? So I'm going Wales by 9. So so I'm sure I won't be anyway. I'll be losing that reputation very quickly. Okay, well, thank you very much, Dafydd. Thank you so much for joining us, for giving us that insight, massive on everything really, and it's been a pleasure having you on. Hope you've enjoyed it, and hopefully we'll see you again. And I'm going to twist your arm off about joining maybe occasionally our Welsh language pod as well. So you be careful what you started now. And Grant and Josh, as usual, thank you so much. And let's hope we are coming back soon on the pod to celebrate a Welsh win and the start of a new winning streak. And remember, if you've liked this pod, remember you can show that on YouTube or follow us, subscribe to the pod. And yeah, thank you very much. And we'll see you soon.
Diolch yn fawr. Nos da.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.